The first day of spring has come and gone, which means we're finally in for some warmer weather, which I'm really excited about. I have a few chores I need to do this weekend, and one of those is to plant my vegetable seeds for the coming season. And we're also going to be checking in on my chili plants and seeing how they're getting on, including the ChilliChump seed kit, so you can compare the progress with your ones. And there's a couple other things I need to do around here as well. So let's get started with planting some vegetable seeds. The first vegetable on the list is my lovely gem squash. I save these seeds every year and make sure I plant quite a few of them because my family love them just as much as I do. So I've got to make sure I have plenty of them. And to save these, all that you do, you take a gem squash from late in the season, make sure it is very ripe, and the seeds from within it, just stick it on top of a paper towel like this and stick it on top of your fridge. And by the time it comes to planting time, which is now, they're going to be perfectly dry and ready to plant. So that is the easiest, laziest way to do it, but it works. Then we are going to be growing some corn. I have a few different types. We're using the sweet corn, and I have bought some here, Swift F1. Actually, it's the same as the ones I had from last year, Swift F1. So I may plant a couple of the fresh ones and then some from the ones from last year. And then we have another one here called Incredible F1. So I'll plant a few different varieties there and we'll see what the difference really is. Alongside the corn, I'm going to be doing the same as I did last year, except I'm going to be doing it a lot earlier than I did last year. I'll be planting some peas. So I'm going to be doing the Three Sisters method again, and that just helps enrich the soil. So the nutrients that the corn pulls from the soil, the peas and legumes and these sort of things will actually put back into the soil, the nitrogen, that sort of thing. So it's a great way to grow because it's just all complementary to each other. But last year I started my peas and beans a little bit too late, I think. So I'm going to start them this year at the same time. I'm also going to be planting, as part of the third sister in the Three Sisters method, the pumpkin. So I'm going to be doing some pumpkin as well as some butternut squash. We're then going to try aubergine again. I tried it last year and it really didn't work out very well. I think it needed a bit more warmth early on in the season. So this year I think I'm going to grow them inside the greenhouse, at least for the first few months, maybe put them out in around June time maybe. So hopefully we get some aubergine or eggplant. Then we have some patty pan squashes. Those will be going alongside the gem squash. They're also a lovely squash from my youth. Growing up in South Africa, we'd eat so many of these patty pan squashes and gem squashes. And then pak choy, absolutely love pak choy. And they grew so well last year and the year before. So definitely growing a few more of those. Hope I have enough seeds. Sounds like we have quite a few in there. And what are these? Oh, beetroot. So I found this pack of seeds at Wilco's. It just looks pretty cool. There's a variety of different types of beetroot, so multicolored mix. So it'll be interesting to see what that comes out like. And that's it, I think. I have a few vegetables already in the garden, like garlic. I planted a bunch of garlic towards the back end of last year. You need to plant that in the real cold part of the year. And they're doing really well. And I also have some artichoke. So I have a couple artichoke plants. This year, fingers crossed, hopefully I get some artichokes that we can actually eat. They've been growing for 2 years, and I think this will be the year that we finally get some decent sized ones. Last year they grew quite a nice size, but just not dense enough to really make a meal out of it. So we'll see. Hopefully this year we'll get some luck. Anyway, I need to get to planting these, and I'll be back with you as soon as that's done.
Chillies.
The vegetables are now planted and we just need to wait for them to germinate. I've actually placed them indoors because I've kind of run out of space inside the grow tents. I have got some space in there, but it makes it quite difficult to move around if I'm just filling it up with plants. I have to keep moving things in and out. So I've reorganized it in a way that I can get around in there quite easily now, and I'll show you that in just a second. There are still a few of my vegetables that I need to sow. I'm going to be sowing them directly into the soil, but I need to see if I can get round to preparing the beds before I can do that, because I've got a few other chores to do first, and we've still got a little bit of time. But I might get around to it this weekend. I just wanted to point out the pipe that is quite obvious sitting over there. That there is pulling air out of the grow tent. I have one on the other smaller grow tent as well. And what that is doing is replacing the air that's inside the grow tent with fresh air from the outside. That's for two reasons. Number one is you need to remove the humidity. It's very humid inside here at the moment, and it causes a lot of condensation inside the grow tent, which is not a great thing. Number two, these plants are going to be using a lot of CO2. CO2 is abundant in the air because we breathe it out, and so do all the animals and insects. But this is pretty much sealed up, and it's going to be using the majority of that CO2 inside there rather rapidly at this point, especially with the plants getting to the size that they are, which means we need to get more CO2 inside there. There's a few ways to do that. This is the easiest way. You're just basically pumping out the oxygen, and it'll replace it with the ambient air, which is going to bring in a lot of fresh air. The problem with that though is it does drop the temperatures, but there are heaters in there, so it kind of all evens out. So I don't have the extractors on all day, because then I'll be constantly running the heaters, and that just gets expensive. Let me show you how I've done this on the outside of the shed. You can see how I'm letting the air out. Over here you can see the vents where I'm venting the air coming out of the grow tents. I have these pipes connected directly to these over here. These are just to stop the water getting inside there, but luckily I actually have a bit of an overhang here with the roof, so water's not going to get in there anyway. So I should be quite safe. It's not going to cause any problems inside the shed. I don't want it to get any damp inside there. Let's go have a look at the actual pumps I'm using. They are standard grow tent pumps that people growing other sort of things might use with charcoal filters. I'm just using it straight from the tent, straight outside through these vents. Over there you can see the two pumps that are mounted to a beam at the back of the shed, and they're both run independently, which means I can monitor the humidity and the temperature in each of the grow tents, which means I can turn the pumps on and off as needed. I am going to be automating that entire thing, but I just haven't had a chance yet to finish it off. It's almost done, and I'll show that to you in a future video. So let's have a look inside the grow tents and check on the chilies. We can see that I've created a bit of a gap over here, and that allows me to just tend to the plants, water them, check on them, that sort of thing, and it makes it a lot easier to work around in here. So I could obviously put some more seeds down over there, the ones that I put inside the house, but then I wouldn't be able to get to the plants at the back without moving things around. One thing to point out here is have a look at how well those plants are doing. Now, I kind of did this on purpose. Those ones there, I waited a bit longer before potting them up. I let them establish themselves quite well in their seed pots and then move them on so that they have much nicer growth. These ones here, I potted up way too soon. So just bear that in mind. When you are growing your chilies, don't rush to pot them up. Let them get a bit root bound before you go and put them into a bigger pot, and you'll have a far better result, like you can see over there. Those ones over there are still doing well. Those are the ones that I almost abandoned. Those are the Mozambican peri-peri, and they're looking quite healthy. I am still using the Vaxa hydroponics, and they're still doing quite well. There are a couple of chilies actually on them, so quite happy about that. Let's go have a look at the ChilliChump seed kit and see how they're doing. We have our jalapeno mammoth at the back there, and over here is an ancha poblano. Over here is an ají crystal, and there's a cayenne, and there's another jalapeno mammoth, another cayenne, turbo pube is this guy over here, and another ancho poblano, and another ahi crystal. So that's the growth of them at the moment. They will start picking up pretty soon. Like I said, potted them up too soon and causes them to stunt their growth a little bit. So it's not great, but they will recover. You can see if you look down there the size of those plants in comparison. Let's go look inside the other grow tent and see how the hydroponic setup is doing. Have a look at this guy. That's just beautiful. It is just looking so healthy. The color of the leaves, the growth, the density of the foliage, it's just doing a fantastic job. And I think I'll do a video probably in the next week or two on how I built this hydroponic system. So if you want to build your own, you can do that. You can see there are some flowers coming through, and I believe there are a couple chilies as well. I can't see them right now, but they have started to pollinate. And yeah, this is just such a beautiful plant. Look at that deep green, lovely dense foliage, just amazing. And plenty flowers in here. So they really do like the setup. I've had to use some string here to try and support this because it was starting to get quite heavy. I have got some small fans running in here, but they're not really going to strengthen this too much. But the plant itself is pretty sturdy. It's just the fact that it's going to fall over if I don't support it. This plant is doing just perfectly, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the chilies look like, because I actually have no idea. I've got an educated guess as to what they might look like, but it's going to be interesting when they actually start ripening up. I've got a ton of chores I need to finish up. I've got to try and clear out the polytunnel over here, and I've got a similar mess inside the greenhouse. So let me get cracking with that. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Until then, stay safe and stay spicy.